Hey everyone, Nico here. So I did this tutorial with design cuts, I think 2 weeks ago, but since they closed down, unfortunately the tutorial vanished as well. And I got a few comments or messages asking me to give them access to the video, which unfortunately I don't have access to that. And I know that some of you haven't finished the tutorial or haven't finished creating projects. You're maybe halfway or a third or two-thirds done. But since you don't have any more guide, I decided to do a quick tutorial on this or redo this tutorial so that you'll be able to follow along and finish your beautiful artwork. So yeah, today's tutorial is gonna be on creating ornamental vintage frames. So you're going to create something like this, or we are going to create something like this together. And I'll be using brushes from my vintage pack. If you've watched live sessions or you were able to start the replay, I guess you have already downloaded or you were able to download this presentation as well as the assets. So we're going to be using those assets to finish this if you don't have my vintage pack. But if you do have my vintage pack, you can follow along because I'll be using the brushes from that pack. So, like always, for my sessions with design cuts, I always go through the overview of the process just to give you an idea on the steps that we're going to take. And I get to break down the process so that you can see it's an easy process. And it's something that's going to be easy to follow and create as well. So I hope you're excited. And as you can see, I still have some papers here because I just finished filming my Draw With Me video using the brush pen. Yeah, so I just finished filming and I decided to do this or record this real quick for you guys. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video and you create along. So we're going to create this vintage ornament frame. So basically it's just going to be made up of swirls to create this really nice frame where you could put any text that you want. So what I put here is a quote or reminder for myself, which is to create for myself more, because in the past few years, I've been creating products, not really artworks or designs that I really want to create. So that's what's going to change for this year, to create more for myself so I won't feel creatively unfulfilled, but I'll be able to enjoy creating the projects that I want to create. I'm not saying that I don't enjoy creating products, but there's something about creating artworks, specifically artworks, not products, artworks that you want to create. So it's just a little reminder for myself. Maybe after this tutorial, you can add the text that you want or add any quotes or any reminders for yourselves this 2025. So let's get started. For the first step, we are going to select our frames. So basically, we're just going to design like the shape of our frames. Since we're going to be using our vintage brush pack. So in that pack, you have a lot of different frame shapes that you could choose. So basically just stamp in the outer frame and the inner frame. That's why there are two designs right here. So we're going to choose two frames, stamp it on the canvas in separate layers. And then the next is we're going to resize and center our frames. So since I want to make it portrait or more vertical, we're going to resize it. As you can see, it's a bit deformed. Normally, I don't recommend deforming certain elements, but for this project, we're going to use that as guides. We're not going to use that exact frame or that actual frame for the final design. So it's okay to stretch to get a nice final shape. So this is the outside frame, and then this is the inside frame wherein we're gonna put in our text. So if you need a bigger space, you may want to increase the size of the inner frame. So the second step. Third step is add ornamental stamps. So if you are not, or if you don't have any experience with flourishing in calligraphy or designing vintage elements like vintage swirls, vintage ornaments, you can use the stamps in my vintage pack to stamp these pre-designed swirly compositions, and then we're just going to put everything together easily using those stamps. So the next step after you stamp them is to adjust the stamps. So as you can see, earlier we have 3 stamps. So basically what we did is we just rearranged them and then duplicated everything to reflect to the different sides. So we just modified them to fit in the shape. It doesn't have to follow the shape 100% because it's okay. We don't need to finish with the exact frame because it's still gonna look nice and attractive. So after adjusting the stamp, step number 5 is to stamp corner borders. For this design, we want to add some borders as well. So in the vintage pack, you have a selection of border brushes. So this is the one that I chose. You're going to stamp it on new layer. And then for the next step, just reposition them. So of course we don't want them to overlap, right? So we're going to move them to the side. That is step number 6. And then step number 7 is once we have our guides, we're going to trace the swirls using a calligraphy-like brush. So we're going to add thick and thins to the design on a new layer, like that. And then the next step is to trace the corners as well. It needs to have that same thick and thins so that we'll be able to maintain that elegance in the design. And the next is fill in the gaps because here it feels empty on certain areas. So the next step is to fill in the gaps before we start to move on to coloring and adding more designs. And then the next is to add leaf details. So this feels a bit empty yet as of now, but if we add some leaf details like this one, look at the before and after, these are just simple single strokes. We're going to add that to fill in or to complete our frame a bit more. And then we're also going to enhance with extra elements. For this one, it's up to you what you want to add. For this one, I added some like sparkle. Actually, this is from my floral pack, not the vintage pack, but you can design whatever you want to, you can add whatever design that you want. Okay, so yeah. Here, we're now at step 11. We're going to enhance with extra elements, which you saw. Next step is we're going to color our design. I usually leave coloring to the end because I don't want to be distracted with the colors. I don't want to keep on adjusting the colors and then like adjust the colors of each element. It's going to take so much time. So I just finish the frame design first, all of the designs before I start coloring. So when we finish all the designs, we can start coloring. And then we're going to add reflections. Like, you see that? So it's like metallic silver from something flat to something reflective. And then we're going to add this stressed effect. As you can see, this is before and then after. Basically, these are just brushes. Then we're going to apply some texture to give it that more vintage effect. And then lastly, we're going to finalize with some text. So basically, those are the steps. And yeah, let's start creating. Okay, so this is the finished product that I did during the live session. So let's start again. If you have downloaded the pack from Design Cuts or like the freebie from Design Cuts before, it's gonna be here. These are the files. So yeah, I haven't done this tutorial in 2 weeks, so I might have forgotten, but let's try it. I'll do my best to remember everything. So open up a new canvas. I'm using screen size. I mean, I'm just used to working with this size, so this is what I'm using. And then the first step is to add frames, right? So let me just choose black and then go to my vintage pack, vintage composition, because for this vintage pack, we have 2 brush sets, vintage composition with stamps and designs for like the overall shapes and compositions of your art. And the vintage lettering are lettering brushes and details to add vintage elements to your design. So it's going to be here on vintage composition, and I think it's sign shape 13. So I'm going to stamp one in the middle and open up a new layer and find a different stamp. I think it's sign shape 6. Stamp it in the center for the inner frame. We just center this like this. Rotate it like that. And then for the first frame, I'm going to switch to transform freedom because, freeform, so I can warp it and get the right shape that I want. Then I'm going to center this. That. Next is for the inner frame. I'm going to make this thinner and center it. Okay. My magnetics and snapping are turned on so that it's going to be easier for me to adjust the X and Y position to get the center. Okay, I think I'll make this a bit smaller and center this. You know it's centered when you have those two orange lines right there. And I'm gonna merge them, okay? And then I'm gonna bring the opacity down like that. Then open up a new layer because the next step, if you remember, it is to stamp in your vintage elements. So if you already have downloaded the elements, they're here. So you could just, if you're not working on this canvas, you could just drag that to this document right here. Okay, but if you have the vintage pack, it's here. You just go to Ultimate Lettering Toolbox, Vintage Lettering, and then it's gonna be down here. Yeah, ornament crowns and ornament dividers. So what I did basically is I just picked some ornament crowns. Like this one is ornament crown 2. So you could just select this and stamp it on a new layer. And then for this one, it is ornament crown 7. Stamp it on a new layer as well, then rotate it. That's what I did. And then for this one, it's ornament divider 1. Stamp it on a new layer as well. And then you'll have these 3 layers right here. Right here. Okay. So first things first, let's just hide those 2 and work on this. So let's bring this, make this bigger. Like that, and center this just to fit or position it within our frame right here. Okay. I think we're good with that. So next is this one. Let's duplicate this divider right here and then just move it. For this one, I'm going to turn off magnetics and snapping because I need to be able to easily move and rotate everything. So here, since we have this space, right, it feels empty. So let's just use this to fill that space in. So I'm just resizing and rotating. And something like this. Okay. It's more or less within that shape. So yeah, we're done with that. So let's duplicate this, transform, flip it horizontally, but let's bring back magnetics and snapping because we want to mirror it to the other side. So I think it's somewhere here. Okay, so let me just, sorry about that. My battery just died, so where was I? Okay, I think I want to put this here in the middle, right? But I don't want them to overlap, so let me just bring them closer together like that. Select both of them, then try to squeeze it smaller, and then center it. There. What we want is we want it to touch here so that when we connect it, it's going to be smooth. There you go. We're done with the top. So I think we can go ahead and group these and then merge them or flatten them. And then duplicate, flip vertical, and move them down. like that. Let's merge these and make sure it's perfectly centered. There. Now let's work on the other side. So here, okay. So I feel like this part right here is going beyond the guys. So yeah, you could just erase them like this. Like what I'm doing, I'll just erase that so that it's gonna fit perfectly for that template, like the curves here. So I'll just, oops, use 3 fingers to clear that. And then, yeah, I have this right here. So I'm just make this bigger. Like that. Okay, that looks nice. Let me center this first. Like this, so that it's gonna touch there. Perfect. So it's more or less here and more or less have the same guide. So yeah, I think I'm happy with that. And let's pick the divider again and then fill this empty spot because it feels empty, right? So then remove magnetics and snapping again so that I can find a way to combine. I'm gonna switch to freeform so I could stretch this a little bit like this. Maybe flip this. I think. Yeah, I'm just trying to fit everything here. There. I think this looks nice. It could. I'll just try to flip this. Maybe adjust it like this. Is this better? This before, and this is the new one. I kind of like this one better, so I'll stick with this one. So I'm going to duplicate this and put it down here. So transform, bring back magnetics and snapping, flip vertical, and drag down out here. Merge the 2 layers, this one, and then bring it up and down to make sure it's centered like that. Perfect. And we're done. I'm going to merge the right side and those decorations, duplicate, flip horizontal to move them to the other side. Like that. Okay. Let's just merge these 2 together and make sure they are centered like that. And then merge the guides. What is this layer? Okay, there's nothing on layer 2, so I'll just delete that. And then I'm going to remove layer 1. There we have it. We now have our ornaments swirl guides done. So the next step is to add border, right? So I'm going back to my vintage composition pack and picking up the corner border 8, tap it in the middle. And the next step is to move them to maybe like position them maybe here like that. Okay. And I'll go to selection. I'll select the left 2 borders and move it to the side, maybe around here. And select the bottom 2 corners and move it down like this. And then make sure the whole thing is centered. There. Merge them. So we're now done with our guides. Okay, so we can now bring the opacity down a little bit and open up a new layer and start tracing those swirls using a calligraphy brush to get the thin and thick strokes consistently. So I'm going to go to vintage lettering and then look for my brush. So we're going to use pointed nib right here. Okay. Oops. See? Something like that. So starting from thin, thick to thin, like that. For this one, you could do it nice and slow, one at a time, like thin, thick, right here, thin, thick. You can do it slow like that. Edit the arc to make sure you have a smooth flow, so like something like that. Or we could do it everything in like stroke, whichever you want. Okay, if you want to carefully build your frames, go ahead and do it one at a time. To make the process easier, let me erase that. So I'm using 3 fingers in a circular motion to erase the layer. So that's what I did. So to make it faster, let's go to Canvas, turn on Drawing Guide, edit Drawing Guide, choose Symmetry, Options, Quadrant. Done. So that it's going to mirror whatever you draw on one corner, it's going to mirror to the left and it's going to mirror horizontally and vertically, which makes the whole process easier. Let me erase that again. And yeah, let's do this. So let's make this thin, thick, and thin. Okay, I think I'm going to make this part like slower first. Okay. And then thin. Yeah. Just slowly build this because I feel like if I hurry, I'm not going to get a very nice and smooth flow. There we go. So someone asked during the live session is how do you know where to put the thick and thins? So for me, if you want to put it like here, the thick here, make sure all of the horizontal parts are going to be thick. Like this is going to be thick, it's going to be thick, it's going to be thin, thin, thin. Okay. So like this is thick. So this has to be thick. This has to be thick and thin, 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 thick. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So yeah, this is gonna be thin, thick, thin. Edit the shape. Okay, let's erase this a bit. So thin, thick, and thin. So in Procreate, I'm holding my brush so I could turn this into a shape so I could further adjust this a little bit like that. Perfect. So this is still gonna be thin. So you could do this segment by segment if you don't need to rush. So this is gonna be thick, right? So thin, thick, thin. And try to align it with a curve that you drew. Like that. To be thin, thin, thin. There. Let's clean this up a bit. Right here. Perfect. There you go. You're done with the top part. Next is this one. So the thin, thick, thin. Okay, let's just make this. Oops. I think I want to make the top part thick. So thick and thin. Okay, yeah. It's not. Let's do this again. Thin, thick, thin. I'm holding it down lightly so I could adjust it a little bit more. Then, perfect, perfect. So for this one, let's trace over this curve right here. Like that. Let's trace this a bit. And then let's do the thin parts first. Like that. Okay. Then thin, thick. Then let me control the pressure a bit more. Perfect. Thin, thick, thin. Okay. The curves are not as smooth as I want it to be, but it's really hard to focus on concentrating the pressure while having to narrate or explain the process. Yeah, I think that'll do for now. Yeah, there. We're done with the top part. Let's start to work on this lower part right here. So this part, let's make this thick like that. Let's erase that because it went a bit thicker than we want. At the end, here we go. Okay. So for this one, let's just make like a thin curve right here. Like that. Perfect. Erase this a bit. Let me use a bigger eraser. And do this part right here. Like that. Okay. Use the eraser. Oops, it's too big now. Let me just lighten this part a bit. Oops, what happened? Okay. Now I think I want to make this part thicker. So I'll make it really thick, like this. Thick like that. Perfect. There we go. Edit it to move it. There. Okay. So we're almost done. We just have to do these sections left. So for this one, let's make this thin, this part, because I normally avoid combining or like overlapping two thick strokes together. But, okay. So this part is going to be thick now. Edit line, turn it to an ellipse. Oops, let's do that again. Straight into an arc like that. Then erase this tiny bit here. Connect the thick here. Yeah, hey, that looks nice, doesn't it? Let's do that again with this thicker. Like that, okay. For this one, make this thin. Perfect. We're almost done. Okay, let's make this thin. So thick, thin. To be thin. So this side is going to be thick. So this is going to be thin still. Right? And here, thin, thick, thin. There. Okay, we have this one left. Almost done. Okay. For the last, let's just draw a line for this one to connect these two. We are done. Okay. So we're done with the frame. Next is to do the border. So for the border, let's follow the guys right here. I think that looks good. So let's make this thin. Thin, thick, thin. There you go. Thin here. High that. Okay. So basically I'm just tracing and then giving it some weight. Like that. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. When you connect this better, like that. Okay. And maybe with a thick stroke here. Wow, let's do this again. Perfect. That looks nice. There. And then I'll just wing it like that. Yeah, I kind of want to do it here as well. Perfect. Like that. Okay, I think that looks nice. So we're done with the border, so we can now hide the guide right here. Okay, then the next step is to fill in the empty spaces. So here it feels empty, right? So I'll just add like a quick swirl like there to fill in the space. Here as well, I kind of want to make it pointed. So I'll just do something like that. And here as well. Now, okay. Maybe like this. From here. Yeah. And that looks nice. Perfect. And then we're done filling in the empty spaces. We can now start adding the leaves. So normally I like to work on a new layer. So I'll just add a new layer so that if I'm going to change anything, it's going to be in separate layer. Oh, I just noticed like the screen got, or like it's getting darker here. Already it's getting late. So I feel like the lighting is a bit off. So let me just fix that. See if I can fix that. Can I? No, I don't think I can fix that. Anyway, so next step is to add leaves. So to add leaves, simply look for spaces that needs filling. For example, here is like drawing an S, but you add like a thick stroke here at the beginning. So something like that here as well. Oops. Like that. Looks nice. Here. Like that. Like that. That looks nice. Here as well. So basically you just add it to wherever you wanna add some details. There we go. Okay, we're done with that. So the next step is to add some embellishment designs. So on a new layer, oh, sorry. For the leaf, I forgot to turn assisted layer on. That's why it didn't mirror to the other side. So we have to do that manually. Go to duplicate, transform, flip horizontal, move it to the left. When you're done, merge the two layers and make sure they're centered like that. And then we're gonna copy that below. So duplicate, flip vertical this time, and bring it down. Make sure you're locked to the vertical movement. Then maybe just position it. I think this is okay. So I'm gonna group those. Make sure they're centered. Done. And then I'll turn off drawing assist just in case I'm gonna add something later. And then for the new layer that I just added, add drawing assist as well, because we are going to stamp in some designs. So it's up to you what you wanna add in. So you could add in sparkles or stars, whatever. But for me, I want to add some leaf elements. So I'll go to the floral kit and maybe this daffodil seeds too. Okay, that looks nice. Kind of want to add some flowers. So I'm going to add one there. Add one here. And change the brush size smaller. So I could add some smaller flowers. I think here and here will do. Here, I think it's too much. Maybe here. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, and then I want to add a new layer. So I'm gonna duplicate this and make sure I clear the page. Or you could just add a new layer. And make sure you switch on drawing assist. Okay, the iPad is tilted. I don't know what happened. Okay, anyway, there. And then on that new layer, I'm going to stamp in like a circle, like a circular center, cosmos center, or you could just draw a circle. So I'm gonna bring the size bigger. That's too big. Oops. Or I'll just use my pen to make it faster, and then just draw like a circle. Like that. Make sure you add the circle to all of your flowers. The good thing is you only have to do it on one quadrant because it's gonna reflect. Okay, let me just duplicate that because earlier I noticed like the ends are a bit feathery. So yeah, there you go. We're now done with the elements. The next step is to color this. So to color this, let's create a new layer behind and choose a dark gray or like a dark blue. Like this. Okay, I feel like we need to darken this a little bit more. Reduce the saturation. There. Like a deep blue. And then let's invert all of the layers to make them white so that we can see them. Okay. Next is let's color the petals. So I'm thinking, well, I'll just check the color that I did before. So it was white petals and orange center. So let's just do that now. So I added the center in the different layers, so it makes the process easier. What you can do now is alpha lock and select an orange color and fill. Oops. Oh, wait. Okay. When I duplicated it, I forgot to erase it, or maybe my palm undo the process. So let's just do the process again. Let's delete that. Okay, let's create a new layer, turn on drawing assist, and make sure I'm selecting orange, and I'll just manually draw the centers in orange like that. Then have this one, and then this one. And then we're done. Okay, again, let me duplicate that and merge the two layers so it's more solid like that. Perfect. And then I kind of want to add some details still. So I'm going to go back to the petals layer, change color to white, and then select another stamp for the floral kit. Something like this star. And then stamp it. Okay. Because I feel like this needs a little bit more design. Yeah, like that. This one here as well. Maybe here. Okay. So yeah, I added some little stars just to add some more details. And I think I'm happy with that. Okay, I think the blue background in this screen is quite bright. So I'm gonna darken that a bit and bring the saturation down a little bit more. Perfect. Okay, so the next step is to add, oh, let me erase this. Whoops. Erase these. I accidentally tapped this earlier. Okay. Zoom out. Perfect. So next step is to add the reflection. What we want is we want to merge everything. But since I want to preserve my layers, I'll just group them, duplicate the group, and flatten the group and hide the original layers. Okay, so now everything's on one layer. And if I need to edit anything, I still have the layers preserved. Okay. Next is we're going to add a new layer. So if you have the freebie download, or if you are able to download it from Design Cuts, you have this reflection layer and paper texture layer. Go ahead and import those into your canvas. If not, if you're using the Vintage Pack, what you can do is make sure you're on a new layer. Choose the color black. And on the Vintage Lettering Pack, you have some reflections brushes right here. Or gradient, reflective gradient. So just pick any one, rotate your canvas, then just cover it like that. There you go. Let's try a different one. There. So we just added two gradients together, as you can see, before and after. And I think we're okay with this. What you do now is select that clipping mask. So it's gonna clip onto the layer below. And then let's add a bit of Gaussian blur more, just to blend it up a little bit. Maybe around 10 will do. Since I always want to have the bright on the upper left, it's just my personal preference because this one is light, this one is dark. So I'll just rotate everything. So rotate it. There you go. And then after that, we're going to bring the opacity. Wait, let me just zoom it in. Bring the opacity down a little bit for the reflection so that it's not too dark like that. There. Okay, maybe bring it down a little bit more. It's up to you how you want to adjust the opacity. Maybe at 60 before and after. Yeah, there you go. You can see it looks shinier now. Okay, the next step is to add the rugged effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the design layer, click on mask to add a mask, and then on the pen tool or the brush tool, I will select light grain brush, and then make sure it's color black. And as you can see, I'm adding some grains to it. Let me try a medium grain brush. Okay, I think this looks nicer. Okay, so I have that brush selected, and I'll just run through the entire, we call this canvas. But as you can see, I think it's too much, so I'll just control it a little bit. Just add them lightly like that. There, we have some grains onto the border. The next step is to add that distressed effect. So what you can do is on the same vintage lettering pack, you have these vintage textures and stamps. So I'm going to choose one random vintage paper stamp and then stamp it on the canvas. You see that? This is the before and after. With just one stamp, I instantly added some distressed effect, and then I'll just scale it up to cover the entire page like that, or entire canvas. There you go. Easy as that. And final step, let's just add the new layer, add the text. Oops, not take a photo. Add text and create for, I'm typing myself, enter. Whoops. What's happening? Okay, I think I changed the language. Here you go. Well, I'm supposed to hold shift. Myself, enter, more. Okay, and then select all. Zoom it out a bit. Change the color to white so we can see that. And then change the font. Let's select a serif font. Maybe this D dot. Okay. Bring the size down. Bring the kerning up a little bit. And leading as well. Let's add like a period after more. Go to the keyboard, add a dot. And then let's center this like that. There you have it. A vintage frame ornament design with some reminders or reminder text in the middle. What do you guys think of this tutorial? I'm sorry if you feel like I'm hurrying because it's getting dark outside and I don't want the quality of the video to become really, really bad. But yeah, here is the final project. This is actually very versatile. If you want to turn this into like a greeting card or like a thank you card, just do it like this. Change the text to thank you or happy birthday or whatever. So yeah, you can use this for a lot of different projects. And during the live session, Tom mentioned this looks good as a book cover, doesn't it? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you have any questions about the process, the brushes, let me know in the comments section, and I'll put the links to the brush pack in the description as well. If there are any specific topics, effects, or styles that you want to learn from me, let me know in the comments below. So make sure to subscribe because I'll be doing some live sessions in YouTube as well, because I really miss doing live sessions with design cuts wherein I can interact and catch up with you guys in the chat while we do the live session. So yeah, I hope you were able to follow along and you like this output. So yeah, hope you have a great rest of the day and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.